Singapore's domestic debate is a matter for Singaporeans. We allow American journalists in Singapore in order to report Singapore to their fellow countrymen. We allow their newspapers to sell in Singapore so that we can know what foreigners are reading about us. But we cannot allow them to assume a role in Singapore that the American media plays in America, that of invigilator, adversary, and inquisitor of the administration. If allowed to do so, they will radically change the nature of Singapore society, and I doubt if our social glue is strong enough to withstand such treatment. For example, few Singapore foreigners are aware that to lessen our intercommunal conflicts, Malays versus Chinese versus Indians, Singapore and Malaysia, both governments ban each other's newspapers and have done so for over 20 years since we separated. The last big Malay Chinese riots in Malaysia in 1969 sparked off similar riots in Singapore in a matter of days. We are the closest of neighbors. Unfortunately, one country's newspaper reporting what its people, its own people, are doing and saying can cause Malay Chinese troubles in the other country if it is read there. It appears preposterous. But the reason is simple. The two countries have two different solutions to their not dissimilar interracial problems. And to read of another solution and the implications of that solution causes problems for the other. Now, no foreign television station claims the right to telecast its programs in Singapore. Indeed, you know that the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, bars foreigners from owning more than 25% of a TV or radio station. In other words, only Americans can control a business which influences American public opinion. Thus, before Rupert Murdoch purchased the independent TV stations of the Metro Media Group in 1985, he first had to take up US citizenship. That's given me a good idea. I must require the journalists in the Asian Wall Street Journal to take up Singapore citizenship. Now, if a mighty nation of 250 million Americans finds such a safeguard necessary, what about a plastic, unformed, small society like Singapore? As for the US print media, I remember reading in 1976 that the South African Ministry of Information was negotiating covertly to buy the Washington Star to soft-sell apartheid. When the story broke, a storm broke out in Washington and the purchase fell through. Americans were outraged at this South African attempt to soft-sell apartheid in America's marketplace of ideas. But apartheid is patently abhorrent. If, as the State Department wrote to us, the marketplace of ideas automatically separates the good from the bad and rewards the good, why be outraged at South Africans wasting their money trying to propagate and sell the bad when it was doomed to failure? Now, when Americans react in this way, is it surprising that Singapore feels it cannot take chances with the offshore press taking sides in Singapore's domestic debate? I need hardly remind my chairman that circulation in Singapore is a privilege granted by the Singapore government on Singapore's terms. The terms are that they should report us as outsiders for outsiders, i.e., do not become a partisan in our domestic debate. If they do not want to accept these conditions, they do not have to sell in Singapore.